tell me what are the challenges that the North East face and how you're going about trying to deal with them?
Well, I think the big economic challenges that the North East faces are really around growing the economy so that the public sector is less dominant in the North East and play into our key sectoral strengths where there are real opportunities for growth. Advanced manufacturing, I think, is key. I think also our strengths in digital and our strengths in life sciences will be key to driving growth and delivery in the North East. One of the big challenges for us, however, is really around, although we have those sectoral strengths, we also have significant numbers of people who are outside of the labour market, who don't have the skills for the future economy, and we have to tackle that in order to drive growth and productivity in the North East and Newcastle. There are a number of signs that the economy is improving. We were the highest start-up region for new businesses in the UK last year. We've got some real opportunities around our digital and our sort of back office functions. But to drive that growth, we need to harness our universities, bring more people into the labour market and really, really develop skills.
And why do you think there's been a persistent skills problem in the North East?
I think it's quite a long-term generational thing. Partly it stems from a legacy of heavy industry, of people who expected it to work in a particular career, and that those industries are gone and that we're still adjusting to that. But we're very clear in the North East that unless we tackle that, unless we retain more skilled people, unless we grow more skilled people, we won't grow the economy as fast and as strongly as we would want to. So we're very keen to see real growth that benefits all of our people and benefits our communities. Success for us would mean that good jobs actually benefit people who are currently not accessing those opportunities, and good jobs would make a difference to our communities.
And where would you, from a system point of view, point the finger? Is it the FE system? Is it education? Is it around early years? Because you mentioned higher education, but perhaps by the time you're looking to get into HE, it's perhaps too late.
There's a lot of evidence that from work we've done on looking at those who are not in education, employment and training, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that we know who's going to be NEET right from a very early age. And that's been to do with the sort of family support they've had, to do with how they've done at school, how they adjust to school, how they perform as they go through. And so starting early and really supporting families and challenging families who are kind of outside of that system to become part of growth is a really important part of integrating that system. But then you also have to work in schools, linked to education, linked to FE and HE. So the skills board that Lord O'Neill will chair as part of our devolution deal is all about making that system work for people and making it work for the economy and really ensuring that people drive productivity, and participation in productivity drives the economy in the North East. Now that's a huge challenge and something that requires us to have more of the levers about choices about investment at the North East level so that we can gear the system to ensure people take advantage of that growth.
Why do you think there's been such a flurry of startups in the North East recently?
It's an interesting thing. I think it's partly driven by quite a strong focus on digital and kind of arts and creative industries, particularly in the North East, in Newcastle and Sunderland and in a number of areas where graduates, people are returning back to the cities, and they're kind of setting up their own IT, digital, arts-based creative businesses. I mean, the North East, in Newcastle, in one part of the city, we've got the highest number of people actually producing original arts. Artists have taken over buildings that have been kind of unused in the city centre. We've got a real cluster of people, creative people who've come together, and that spawns business.
I was going to say, because we haven't seen that in the devolution agreement. What do you think that the devolution agreement, as it currently is, gives you in terms of tackling those economic social problems? And where would you like to move it to, perhaps in a further iteration?
I think in future rounded deals, we will be looking at a much greater focus on human capital and on really getting innovative ways of investing in bringing more people into the labour market and upskilling those people. And that involves, you know, the sort of things we've already got, like adult skills, greater traction over FE and design of the work programme. But for me, it needs to go much further and look at much earlier intervention and support to families and children to really help them do the best they can. And I think there's something about the kind of business cases that we can make in future deals to get that sort of investment.
And the politics of collaboration are always difficult, and some might say most difficult in the North East. How are you managing that in the early stages of the combined authority, particularly when waiting in the wings is the mayoral discussion and how you're going to be working together both politically but also at chief executive level?
Well, I mean, we've got a good track record of having established a combined authority. We were one of the first after Manchester. And so we've been working in a combined authority for about 2.5, 3 years now. And we've done a number of things collaboratively to drive the economy. What we've been very keen to do is each of the leaders has a portfolio lead that they champion across the region and lead on. So Sunderland, for example, lead on economic development. Newcastle leader leads on transport. Northumberland lead on skills. The mayoral combined authority that is proposed in our deal will build on that and have a cabinet-style arrangement where the mayor will work with cabinet leads to drive forward different aspects of growing the North East economy. So I'd see the devolution agreement as an extension of that. I think getting a kind of agreement around what you want to achieve and how you use devolution as a tool to do that is the kind of fundamental way you build trust in those relationships.
And how about managing the identity of different communities, different cities and towns in the North East? Does that economic vision help, or how have you been able to show that it is growth for all and not just, say, for Newcastle city centre?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you look at the statement of intent and the focus of our deal, a lot of it is driven by advanced manufacturing, by export and investment. And whilst Newcastle has some strengths in offshore and you know, has on the Tyne a number of jobs which are focused on foreign investment and markets, you wouldn't argue that Newcastle city centre is a driver of export growth. It's just not. The real driver of that is Sunderland and the advanced manufacturing there in Durham and Hitachi, the offshore energy in Northumberland. You know, there's a real diversity in the North East that we need to play to. And we're not like a Greater Manchester or Leeds where there's a kind of clear focus on the one city. We've got a core city, a key city. We've got, you know, a number of places. We're what's called a polycentric region with a number of different urban conurbations that drive growth. There's a danger that the North East could be seen as on the periphery of the Northern Powerhouse because we're slightly further away from the Leeds-Manchester axis. We've not taken that view. We've said that we've got important contribution to the powerhouse, and in fact we bring different things to other parts of the Northern Powerhouse. There are advantages to us in greater transport links, both to Leeds and down the East Coast, but particularly to Scotland, and advantages to us in greater collaboration around things like housing and skills and some of the things that are part of the Northern Powerhouse. And the other thing is the Northern Powerhouse is a strong brand, and the North East wants to be part of that brand and wants to be a positive contributor to it.